How do you prepare for civil war? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm a former CIA officer. I'm married. I've got 7 kids. I obviously want them to be safe and protected. So I'm going to tell you what I do. However, obviously, I pray that never, ever, 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 ever do we have another civil war in this country. Is that something that happens in my lifetime or any of our lifetimes, right? That would be absolutely terrible. And then anybody that thinks it's cool is obviously a lunatic. However, you always got to plan for the worst. Our country is more divided than ever. History does repeat itself, unfortunately. We've got elections coming up where people are going to be absolutely nutso crazy. We've got rioting, looting, so we need to be prepared. So what do? Well, the overall arching secret is be self-reliant and have a way to defend yourself, and also make friends with like-minded people and get out of big cities. Did I say enough there? So let's break that all down. First, self-reliant. You are seeing some of my water storage here. As I said, I've got 7 kids, I'm married, and there's me. So that's 9 people in our family. That's a lot of people that I got to take care of. I've got hundreds of gallons here. I've got some of the 55-gallon drums. I've got some of the 7-gallon containers. I've got 5-gallon containers in the back. At a bug-out location not too far from here, I've got a well. Plus, I have water filters. So if and when this hundreds of gallons of water gets used, I was going to say gets worn out, but gets used, then I go to my water filters, and I have filters which can filter up to 30,000 gallons of water. Not one filter can do that, but I have so many filters, I have enough where I can filter 30,000 gallons of water. So my family's going to be fine and safe for a very long time. And of course, I know where the creeks are, where the lakes are, where I can go to get that water. So have your water storage. Of course, you gotta have your bug out bags. If, heaven forbid, you have to leave, you should always shelter in place. But if you have to leave your house, for some reason you can't stay there, you gotta have bags you can grab and go. So I've got my bags. They have 1,000,001 things in it. They have knives, they have survival food, they have fire starters, they have tube tents. Let's see what some of the stuff in here in. Well, we got a very large kukri, so very large machete. In this one, we have, let me put it in there without slicing myself up. We have some Bic lighters because you always need to be able to have fire starters and make it easy. So I have Bic lighters, I have Swedish fire still, I have dryer lint, I have fire rope. I have all kind of stuff in my bug out bags. I have a tube tent for shelter, nothing fancy. As I mentioned, I've got survival food. So I have multiple bug out bags. I have one of these. These, crank it up, see if it works. There we go, get it cranking. So these are just a few of them, meaning I have a bug out bag for every single member of my family. So a lot more bug out bags than this. You gotta have survival food. I have enough survival food to last, food to last an entire year for every single member of my family. Yes, that is a heck of a lot of survival food, but I've got 7 kids and a wife. I need to have a heck of a lot of survival food. And guess what? I didn't build it overnight. I always get people in the comments who are like, I can never afford to do that. Well, guess what? You could, because it took me multiple years to do that. And I don't drive fancy cars. I've never purchased a new car in my life. I live in a very modest home. I don't take fancy vacations. So I live below my means, and that allows me to build up so much survival food. I have pouches. I love the survival food pouches. If you want the world's best pouch food, survival food, go to spyfoodstorage.com. You can get it. But what I literally have in another room in my house is those Home Depot totes, multiple of them. I think it's 8 to 10 of them stacked full of these survival food pouches. In addition, I also have the number 10 cans. These number 10 cans, this is hard white wheat. I have these stacked almost to the ceiling in some of my rooms. So these, you can get wheat, you can get flour, you can get apple slices, spaghetti bites, a ton of this. And this one, it says year packaged, September of 2013. So this is one I bought back in 2013. So you can see I've had it a decent amount of time. So start acquiring as much survival food as you can, because it won't do you much good if you don't have food, if you don't have water. Of course, you gotta have weapons. Now, behind me is some ammo. This is 22. This is 5,000 rounds of 22. I recently bought 20,000 rounds of 22 because I love my Ruger 1022 guns and all my 22s and have fun shooting them. Good to teach the kids on. My main firearms are 9mm pistols and an AR-15. So in addition to a lot of 22, I have a ton of 9mm. That is my main caliber choice of handgun is 9mm. I own a lot of it. And obviously for my AR-15 is 223. So I own a lot of 223 since those are my main guns. So you gotta have ways to defend yourself. You gotta have perimeter alarms. You should have a driveway alarm. You need to have generators, solar generators, propane generators, gasoline generators. If you're gonna get gas, go with Honda. Honda's the best gas brand out there. So have that stuff. Now, as sexy as it is to be a lone wolf, make friends with like-minded people. Do you really think you're gonna be able to pull security, perimeter security, 24/7 by yourself? No, you need to find neighbors. And luckily, I live in a small town in Utah, so I've got many conservative, like-minded neighbors who I trust with my life, who we have a simple agreement. We're gonna work together. It's not like, hey, he's gonna come over and he doesn't have his own food storage. We know we'll have a ton of food storage, a ton of ammo, a ton of water, because when you go to another man's house, you don't take their supplies. You don't expect to use their supplies. You better come prepared with your own stuff. So forget the lone wolf stuff, make friends with like-minded people. As I said at the very beginning, I live in a small town in Utah. All my bug out locations are in small towns. You couldn't get me to go live in a city for, anything in this world. I'm not gonna do it. I dislike cities. Most of them are, dirty, disgusting, violent, liberal places. Sure, there are a few good ones, but most of them are not. So get out of the city if you can. Now I'm gonna tell you a quick joke. Somebody always says, Jason, oh my gosh, you're so paranoid. You're so worried. You've got all this hundreds of gallons of water. You've got your bug out bags. You got your supply of food storage. You got all this ammo. What are you so worried about? Well, I'm going to tell you the joke. An old lady gets pulled over by a police officer. Police officer walks up to her and says, ma'am, do you have any weapons in the car?
She says, well, officer, I have a 6-hour P365 in my front right pocket.
Okay. Do you have any other guns?
Well, I've got a 1911 on my hip.
All right. Do you have any other guns?
He says, well, in my back seat on the floorboard, I have an AR-15.
Ma'am, do you have any other weapons?
Well, in my trunk, I have a shotgun, and I have some other guns, too.
He says, ma'am, that is a lot of guns. What in the heck are you so worried about?
He says, officer, I'm not worried about a damn thing.
So hopefully, again, I hope we don't have a civil war. I hope nothing bad happens. But guess what? Rainy days happen. Maybe it's not a civil war. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe you have a medical problem. Maybe you get divorced or whatever. When COVID happened and everybody's freaking out and had to go to the grocery store, I didn't. I never had to leave my house because I've got so much stuff. So if you want to know how to prepare for civil war that I pray never happens, be as self-reliant as possible. Get all the things you know you should get, that you know you should have been preparing for over the years. Because guess what? If it happens and when it happens, it's too late then. It's too late to go get your supplies. It's too late to go get your gold and silver for bartering and all that kind of stuff. So start preparing today. If you have any questions I can help you with, please let me know in the comments. God bless you. God bless your family.